Accept our humble obeisances. All glories to David Guru Prabhupada. All glories to our beloved speaker for today, His Grace SALIKA PRABHU, who needs no introduction. And all glories to assembled Vaishnava devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here as always. And SALIKA PRABHU, of course, we always say you, but we're still going to say, good seeing you here and having you speak today. So, Hare Krishna. So we may put the verse on the screen, you take it over. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naraichaivam Narottamam Devi Sarasvati Vyasam Tatujaya Mudiraye Nasta Aprayesu Abadesu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamanslo Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of God, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the Supremest Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of the Srimad Bhagavatam. By regular attendance in classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is established as an irrevocable fact. So, dear devotees, we welcome you to today's Srimad Bhagavatam Katha discussions. We are reading from the third canto, chapter 13, text number 29 through to text number 30. We're still discussing the appearance of Lord Varaha, the appearance of Lord Varaha. So we'll read the text number 29. We should, sorry, can you scroll up a little bit? Sarvajaka Kutanga Nipatavega Visina Kushi Stanayan Udavam Utsita Dargumi Buje Vatas Chukrosha Yagniswara Pai Meti Sarvajaka Kutanga Nipatavega Nishina Kushi Stanayan Udavam Ustrista Drigomin Bujai Vatas Chukrosa Yagnishwara Paimiti. Translation. Diving into the water like a giant fountain, Balboa divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord. O Lord of all sacrifices, please do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection. Srila Prabhupada wrote in the purport, even the great ocean was perturbed by the falling of the mountain-like body of the transcendental Boa, and it appears to be frightening, as if death were imminent. Text number 30. Okay, I should scroll. Korai Shuraprai Durayam Stad Apaha Utparaparam Triparam Rasayam Dadar Sagam Tatta Susupsu Agrehe Yam Jivam Danim Swayam Abya Adata Shikurai Shuraprai Darayam Stadapaha Utparaparam Triparu Rasahayam Daradar Sagam Tatta Susupsu Agrehe Yam Jivam Danim Swayam Abya Dataha Shukurai Shurap Pray Darayam Stadapaha Utpara Param Triparu Rasahayam Dadar Sagam Tatta Susupsu Agrehe Yam Jivam Danim Swayam Abya Dataha. Word for word translation. The Kurahe by the Us. Shuraprahe compared to a sharp weapon. Darayan penetrating, that. Apaha water. Utparampuram found the limitation of the unlimited. Triparaha, the master of all sacrifices. Rasayam, within the water. Saha found, Gam, the earth. Tataha, there. Sushupsu, line. Agrehe, in the beginning. Yam, womb. Jivadanim, the resting place for all living entities. Swayam, personally. Abhyadataha, uplifted. Lord Bua, translation by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Bua penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limit of the ocean. Although it was unlimited, he saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings. Lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Rasayam is sometimes interpreted to mean Rasatala, the lowest planetary system, but that is not applicable in this connection. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Earth is 7 times superior to the other planetary systems, namely Tala, Atala, Talatala, Vitala, Rasatala, Patala, etc. Therefore, the Earth cannot be situated in the Rasatala planetary system. It is described in the Vishnu Dharma. Patalamuleshwara Bhugas Samato Vinyasya Pada Pritivecha Bipurataha Yasyo Pamano Nabavu Vaso Ashutu Mamamsu Mangaria Vividyaye Ehari. Therefore, the Lord found the earth on the bottom of the Gabdan Ocean, where the planets rest during the devastation at the end of Brahma's day. Hare Krishna. Omagyanam Tmirandasya Gyanam Shalakaya Shaksho Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Vandeyam Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padam Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Chaha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganam Raghunatam Tam Sahajivam Sadvetam Sabadutam Parijanam Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Pada Saganam Lalita Sri Vishaka Vistam Shah He Krishna Karuna Shindu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kakanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangera Devin Davaneshwari Rishabhanu Shiti Devi Manamami Hari Priye Vancha Karpata Vyacha Kripa Sundya Ivasha Patitanam Pavashembhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srinivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Diving into the water like a giant mountain, Lord God divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord, O Lord of the sacrifices, please do not cut me into two. Do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection. Lord God penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limit of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Hare Krishna. So, once again, we offer respectful obeisances unto all of the Vaishnavas, devotees who are gathered on this platform, listening to the transcendental narration of the Srimad Bhagavatam. All of the predecessor devotees, for those who are here and those who are watching on live YouTube and other places. We pray that by your mercy, we'll be able to render this service for the pleasure of the Lord, purification of these devotees. So today we're discussing continuation of the conversation of the subject matter of the Lord's appearance. When it comes to the topic about the manifestation of the Supreme Lord, for the living entity who are embodied, there's a verse that was quoted in one of the sessions I was today. The Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, Chapter 2, text number 5, which talks about Monaya Sadhu Prishtoham, Bhavabi Loka Mangalam, Yakrita Krishna Samprasno, Yenatma Suprasidati. That, O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy. Sukadev Goswami is speaking. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. And in the purport, especially in the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada said, which is a reference I was trying to listen to, the whole world is full of questions and answers. The birds, beasts, and men are all busy in the matter of perpetual questions and answers. In the morning, the birds in the nest become busy with questions and answers, and in every evening also the same bird come back and again, become busy with questions and answers. The human being, unless he is fast asleep at night, is busy with questions and answers. The businessmen in the market are busy with questions and answers. And so also the lawyers in the court and the students in the schools and colleges. The legislators in the parliament are also busy with questions and answers. And the politicians at the press representatives are all busy with questions and answers. Although they go on making such questions and answers for their whole lives, they are not at all satisfied. Satisfaction of the soul can only be obtained by questions and answers of the subject of Krishna. So this is an interesting reference. The whole of human existence is full with questions. When we recall, in the beginning of the whole of the Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma, who is the father of all mankind, exhibited the same quality when it came to realization of his identity as a person. The first thing that came to mind was question: who am I? What am I? What am I doing? So questions and answers are the symptoms of a jiva, a living conscious person. Unless one is conscious, in fact, the symptoms of a conscious being is that it's questioning. The question pattern, like Prabhupada quoted in this purport, may be different, but there is always a question. Why is there this question? Why is there a question? Why is the living entity always asking questions? Eko baunam vidatir karma, chetanas, chetananas. The living entity, because of their original nature, as part and parcel of the Supreme, who has eternal body of knowledge, bliss, and eternality, are prone to question. Why? Because in the conditional state of life, there is a covering. It's just like one all of a sudden finds himself in a dense, dark environment. He just sleeping and wake up, and you find that you are conscious, but you can't see anything. So naturally, question arises, and that is the state of the living entity in the material world. Everyone, and that is why in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text number 26, Lord Krishna told Arjuna that the living entities in this material world are born into delusion. Everyone in the world of this material world are all born into a delusion. What is this delusion? The delusion is that something is amiss. The living entity in the material world are covered by the influence of the three modes of material nature. So naturally, their original identity is covered. So because something is amiss, they want to answer. And so therefore, a question arises. No, not 27. Yeah, it's 27 years. Isha duisha samutena. Donda, yeah, donda muhena bharata. Sarva bhutani samuhan. Sarge yati paranta pa. That the living entities, Hossain of Bharat, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities, arise from desire and hate. Because the living entity is naturally part and parcel of Lord Krishna, as Lord Brahma realized in his state of perfection. In the state of his perfection, Lord Brahma, he said, Ishwara Paraman Krishna, Sakchid Ananda Vrigraha, Anadi Adi, Govinda, Sarva Karanam Karanam. It defined the existence, the identity, the qualification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he said that this is the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because the living entity is part and parcel of that supreme, eternal, full of bliss and a knowledgeable personality, that is their original constitutional nature. And because that is their nature, they are always after the experience of that bliss, knowledge, and eternality. So when all of a sudden they come into an existence where they cannot experience that, these questions and answers arise. So as we're discussing this chapter of Lord Krishna's appearance in his form as Boa, the ocean, of course, for one who's a student of Vedic knowledge, is not bewildered to note that personalities exist beyond only the human form. In the gross conditional material life, no one knows existence of a living being beyond the physical body, material human body. But for a student of the Vedic student knows that the living entities are spread across all 8,400,000 species of life. So it is not surprising the reaction of the ocean. The reaction of the ocean may appear to an ordinary person as just a body of water opening up. But a student of Vedic knowledge knows that this is a personality, and so therefore that accounts for the translation of what we're reading in these two texts of today's discussion. When the Lord comes in contact with the ocean, described here as a giant mountain in the middle of the ocean, just like a living being become agitated, excited, or alarmed when something all of a sudden appears before him or her. In the same way, the ocean is manifesting here. So the question is, the Lord is appearing. Why does the Lord appear? What is the reason behind the Lord's appearance? Why does the Lord appear at all? The Bhagavad Gita gives us an inkling into this. And Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Yada amasya glani bhavati bharat abhyutanam adamasya tadasmanam srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in the principles of religion, when adharma becomes prominent, when the structural arrangement of God's nature is distorted, then the Lord appears at that moment. Thank you very much, Sir. The Lord manifests himself. So the same situation is here. The material earth planet was one of the manifestations of the Lord. And because it is operating on a particular frequency, the demoniac nature of the living entities in different forms obstruct nature, and they suffer like anything. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, there was no industry like the climate change. When you go on the internet and check how much the world is spending on sitting down and talking just on climate change alone in a year, you'll be amazed. And you start wondering, what is the purpose of this? The whole world is, there are thousands, and as we speak right now, there's a conference, there is a seminar, there is a webinar going on somewhere, someplace in different corners of the world, talking about climate change. But this is only one thing. And this is what the Bhagavatam is telling us. Why does the Lord appear? And this is not difficult to understand. But the world is so completely covered to the extent that they could not understand the simple answer to the questions that billions and trillions of money. First, this is how foolish the living entity in Kali Yuga is. First, they create so much of a problem, which is the symptoms of a demoniac person. And in actual nature of the demon is that it wants to distort everything. And because it distorts everything, it creates problems for himself and all around him or her. So whatever that we see today in the world, in the pharmaceutical industry, in the real estate industry, in the climate change industry, when you look at all of what is predominantly engaging living entity in this present age, 247, are all situations created by man himself. The world is looking out for peace, but they do not know how to appear peace because they do not understand that the Lord had to appear because of their foolishness. The living entities are they're so crazy, mad, to the extent that, because this is a symptom of a mad person. In a conversation a few days ago, I was having a conversation with someone. I said, this person is just mad. He said, no, why are you insulting him? This is an insultive language. I said, no, this is an English word. English, to say someone is mad necessarily does not mean insultive. It is a description of a character. Although it has connoted a negative connotation, because when you say someone is mad, so madness simply means someone acting against his own will in a kind of a distorted state of mind. And that is the state of the living entities in this age. And so therefore the Lord had to appear in this particular story we are reading. Lord Vara had to appear because one demon decided to distort the whole of the arrangement of the Lord in placement of the earth planet. And because of that, the Lord had to appear. And one question is that when we talk about the Lord's appearance, is there any time that the Lord is not here? Is there any time that the Lord is not existing? Because nothing can exist without the presence of the Lord. According to the very scriptures, we understand at every situation, the Lord is physically, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhava, mata sarva prabhatate. Iti matro bhajantimam, bhava samavita. Both animate and inanimate, everything and there. So what do we then mean that the Lord is appearing? Or the Lord has incarnated? Sahadev is before me as I speak by the mercy of the virtual arrangement of Zoom. But Sahadev has been existing before this moment. But because I've just seen Sahadev in the last few 10 to 15, 20 minutes, does not mean that it doesn't. So the Lord is always present. But why does not the Lord appear? Why do we say that the Lord is appearing? The Lord is appearing actually because he wants to bring us to the awareness of our real existence. So I was sharing something this morning on Facebook, and I said, happiness does not require audience. It does only needs what? Awareness. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always present, but its appearance and disappearance are just to wake the living entities from a slumber. Just like the ocean here, when the Lord, all of a sudden, when he sees the contact of the Lord, as described in this text, he raises its two arms in the form of the waves, and it appears as two arms, and it's crying loudly. So when we experience certain situations in the material world, sometimes it's in a favorable situation, and we're saying, it is a common language these days. People will say, it can only be God. But when it is in the other way, then they said, no, it is demoniac. This is the work of devils. So therefore, there is so much of argument about whether evil is created by some other personality other than God. But there is nothing like evil or righteousness or piousness. It is only depending on the state of the consciousness of the living entity. Because when the living entity is in a sleeping state, all of a sudden, when he realizes the presence of the Lord, he becomes a lamb, just like the ocean here. And so Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport, even the great ocean was perturbed by the falling of the mountain-like body of the transcendental body of Lord Varahadev in his Boa incarnation. And he appears to be frightened. Why? Because he is in a sleeping state. In the beginning of devotional service, when we come to the part of Krishna consciousness first, it is very common language to describe bhaktas, sleeping souls. But everyone in the material world is a sleeping soul. So when one becomes fortunate, he sees the Lord. And the Lord is manifesting every day in different forms. To someone, it is in the forms of losing a child. To another person, it's in the form of losing his wealth. To another person, it's in the form of opulence manifesting in his life. So the Lord is always appearing. And now in this case, Lord Krishna is appearing in the form of a boa for the circumstances, for the situation that is prevalent as at that time, because the need of that moment was to lift the earth, which has been sung by Hiranyaksha. And so the Lord is appearing in our lives in every moment. But whether we are seeing him or whether they're not seeing him is what is the challenge. So why the Lord appears? The Lord is appearing because we are in a sleeping state of consciousness. And when does it appear? When there is a need to wake up the soul from its slumber. So when the Lord appears, depending on the depth of our sleeping state of mind, like the ocean here, we either become frightening or become joyous. We saw that when the roaring of Lord Varahadev, the higher living entities, they were joyful, they were glorifying, they were offering prayers. But the ocean is afraid. It's frightening. And in that frightening state, he was praying. Because what he could think of then is that extinct. And so Srila Prabhupada said, he was seeing the situation as if death has manifested itself. So in several purposes, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that to those who are devotees, the Lord appearance is joyful. To those who are sinful, it is death personified. When Lord Krishna appeared in his universal form to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Prabhupada will always give a good example that the cats or animals, ferocious animals like tiger, lion, when they carry the corpse in their mouth, the kitten or the cub is very, very joyous because under the protection of the parent. But when others fall themselves in that situation, it is death. When the lion grabs with the same teeth a deer or any other animal, it is death. So whatever is happening in our lives in devotion and service, how we see them determines whether we are being devotee or we are being demoniac. Whatever the circumstances might be, according to English language, we might call it palatable or unpalatable, but all the manifestation of the Lord is palatable. There is no appearance of the Lord that is unpalatable, but it's unpalatable because of our deep, dense covering of ignorance. So the ocean here is frightening and is seeing death imminent because what? It's manifestation of ignorance. Lord Varahadev, the Lord in his incarnation, the Lord has multiple ways of manifesting himself. And Lord Srila Prabhupada will tell us, it is not that Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago and is not appearing today. But how we are seeing him is dependent on the level of our consciousness. So Prabhupada is explaining the position of the earth planet in the second text, in text number 30. And Srila Prabhupada is saying, the broad penetrated the water with his hoofs, which are like sharp arrows, and found the limit of the ocean. Although it was unlimited, he saw the earth, the resting place for all living entities. And the purpose, Srila Prabhupada was explaining that where the earth is situated at that time, although it is at the base, but it does not necessarily mean, according to the commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and this is very instructive. The earth is 7 times superior to the other planetary systems. And where the Lord, where we are positioned presently in our devotional service can be seen differently depending on the level of consciousness that individual carries. The stories of the Lord's appearance and his activities are very wonderful, are very joyful. And so that's why the Lord said in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Jamma karma chane edivian, evaluon veti tato deha punal jana, 90 mamati so Arjuna. The one who understands the transcendental nature of this appearance and activities of mind, when they quit this body, they will not appear in this material world any longer. Why? Because they understand the why, when, and what is the purpose of the Lord's appearance. And so as we're seeing and we're reading the appearance of Lord Varahadev in these incarnations. So how is Lord Varaha appearing? In my heart, in my consciousness, in your heart, in your consciousness. Because the stories of Bhagavatam, the narration of the scriptures, stories, are not just stories. They're not just for sense gratification. They are meant for sense purification. When we hear the stories of the scriptures narrated by great personality, why is it said to be purifying? It is purifying because they help individuals who hear them to be able to elevate their consciousness to the appropriate place, not to be at the depth. Our existence is either at the lowest level, Maya, or circumstances. The earth was pushed down to below the earth. And the circumstances in our lives is pushing either or each and every one of us into a state of consciousness. And the state of consciousness we are in is determined by our level of advancement in devotion and service. So there are circumstances manifesting on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a monthly basis, on a secondary basis. But all of these manifestations of activities either puts us at the lowest level. And when the Lord appears, we become scared and frightened like the ocean, or we become joyous like the great sages. Circumstances that is appearing on a consistent, always situation in our presence are all the Lord's appearance. Lord Krishna has appeared this morning in each and every one. The moment we sleep and we wake up is another appearance of the Lord. Every second, the Lord is appearing. And as he's appearing, our experience, our understanding is determined based on the state of consciousness we're in. And so that is why Lord Krishna told Arjuna in the second stanza of the famous popular verse of his purpose of incarnation, Pariteranam sadhunam, vinasaya duskritam, dhamma samstapanatayam, sambhavami juge juge. That when I appeared for the purpose of annihilating the miscreants. Re-establishing religious principles and giving pleasure to the devotees. So the sages, the high enlightening Brahmins, and the great personalities with this roaring appearance of the Lord were all joyful. They were all joyous, and they were glorifying. They were singing songs of praise to the Lord. And demons like Rayansha is in such a great fear. And because he's in that state of consciousness, he will be eventually killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he appears. So our acceptance and celebration of the Lord's appearance are all dependent. And we do not need a third, fourth party to tell us where we are in our journey back to God. In the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami, the Lord was discussing the different forms of the Lord to Sanatana Goswami. And Srila Prabhupada said that by devotional service, one can understand that Krishna, in that chapter 6 of that book, it is mentioned that God's form, whatever form it appears, whichever form it appears, is all one and the same. There is no 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 incarnations of the Lord. Although the Lord appears in multiple forms, but the forms of the Lord are all one and the same. There is no difference. And the purpose is only one. So Srila Prabhupada was saying in that chapter 6 of the teachings of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, by devotional service, one can understand that Krishna, first of all, manifests himself as Swayam Rupa. His personal form did as Tat Ekat Rupa, and many other forms of his. He manifests in various forms and all different forms. But all of these forms of the Lord are manifesting. And in one of the statements in that introduction to that chapter, Prabhupada was explaining that, but when Krishna manifests himself in different forms, each and every form, one of them was separate individual. But when Narada Muni visited Krishna at his different palaces in Dwaraka, he was astonished at this, and yet Narada is never astonished to see the expansions of a yogi body, since he knows the trick himself. So a devotee is not bewildered whether the Lord is appearing in the form of a boa, or is appearing or manifesting in the form of a fish, or is manifesting in his Anantashesha form, or is manifesting in his beautiful Shyamashundra, in his two-handed forms, playing on his flute. A devotee is never bewildered because all forms of the Lord are the same and one to him. Because he understands, and that is what Narada Muni is explaining. Narada Muni was seeing different forms of Krishna, but he was not astonished. He was not frightened. He was not bewildered like the ocean. Why? Because he's a devotee of the Lord. So in each and every of our lives, the Lord is manifesting on a daily basis in different forms. And our maturity in devotional life is measured by how we receive the Lord on our secondly, minutely, hourly, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. But surely the Lord is manifesting. And his manifestations may be in various forms. It may be in something that we consider to be distressful or pleasurable according to our material consciousness. But the Lord is one and the same. The Lord is always the same. And his purpose is the same. His purpose of appearing, why he appears, is always the same. To give pleasure to his devotees. But to the demons, the purpose is different. So, as we reach this transcendental narration of the Lord's appearance, the reactions, the circumstances that is being narrated by material here, Lord Brahma, Vidura, and all of these great sages are just to make us remember that different manifestation of the Lord in our lives call for our introspection, how we relate to the Lord's manifestation. Do we say, thank you, O Lord, when circumstances becomes favorable, according to material justification? On one of the platforms I am, someone announces, I just lost my father, and I said, to God be the glory. And it became a big conversation. How should that be? To God be the glory. The God does not kill anybody. Is God glorified for killing his own child? And that was a long conversation. But everything manifesting in our lives are all manifestations of the Lord. And if we don't see the Lord in every circumstance, then we should start questioning, how deep are we in our practice of devotion and service? How do we respond to circumstances? That determines how elevating, how advancing are we becoming in our part of devotion and service. So as we read Lord Boaz's manifestations, and as the Prabhupada is explaining, the Lord has come to revive the earth planet. And so the same way, the Lord is manifesting in different forms to take us back home, back to God. But how we reciprocate is determining how much we are ready in our journey of human existence. Hare Krishna. So I will stop here to give room for question and answer. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu, as always. Beautiful analogies to help us understand. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, you may want to ask, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question. I don't know exactly who was speaking when there is the address that when Lord Boer entered into the ocean and split the ocean into two halves, the waves that came out resembled like the arms or the hands. I don't know who was speaking that. Is it like just an assumption, or in reality, that is how it looked like, that the ocean had those two arms crying out to the Lord? I'm asking this question because when we were kids, of course, it's still happening today, but more so when we were kids. When you look up in the sky, sometimes the cloud has a form. The cloud, sometimes you look at the cloud and you say, oh yeah, look at the head, look at the beard. It looks pretty much like a human form. So if we say, oh, this is human, is that real? Is it real that is a human, or is it just our dream state? We thinking that, oh, because the shape looks like a human beard, it is a beard. Is that what is happening here, or it's actually a reality that the arms of the ocean manifested when Lord Boer entered into the ocean?
Thank you very much, Sadi, for a beautiful question as always. Literally, Maitreya Muni is speaking to Vidura here. And answering your questions, the way we see, is it illusory? Is it is it some fantasy? Is it a reality? And that is why my focus on this conversation today is based on application of the verse. Because, and I reference Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teachings to Sanatana Goswami for that same purpose. When Lord Krishna appeared in Mathura, different persons sees him differently. When Narada Muni went to Dwaraka, when he saw Lord Krishna manifesting in different, same Krishna, relating as husband to different of his wives, so the Prabhupada mentioned that he was not astonished. Why? Because he could see, he knows what is going on. So therefore, whatever we see reflects the state of our consciousness. And when you say something is illusion, or something is an illusory nature, what does that mean? The impersonalists say this material world is illusion. It does not exist. It's just some dreams. That is true. But the world is illusory, but at the same time, it is real. And that is why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came to preach the transcendental subject matter of Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva, he unified both the Dvaitas and Advaita school of thoughts. Because the Lord is simultaneously one and different. And when we see as a child, or even to today, there are several YouTube videos online. You see sometimes people will show how in the sky, angelic kind of, sometimes we have seen, some of them are, in modern times, are becoming a kind of an AI stuff, but there are some that are realistic, several years back, that you see like Kalki Avatar on a horse with his sword, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the question is, are they real or illusion? It is dependent on the consciousness of the person that is seeing at that moment. That's why I said also in the lecture that there is never a time, like Krishna told Arjuna, there's never a time that Krishna is not here in all his unlimited, uncountable forms. And Prabhupada explained in the story of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj did not have to do yagya, sacrifices, but he envisioned the form of the Lord in a particular way. And the Lord, directly or indirectly, manifests himself according to the consciousness and the level of the individuals. But the Lord is always manifesting himself. So what we saw or what we see at those times are not illusory, in the sense that they exist. Because when you look at the picture scheme of what we are seeing, it is exactly what we are actually realizing. But it is illusory because it is not absolutely the truth. Only the pure devotees of the Lord knows, and the Supreme Lord knows the Lord as he is. And that is why the story of Krishna being seen by Narada Muni was significant. Why? Because the Lord was showing himself in different pastimes. Just as we are seeing in this narration we are reading, how can you describe the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of a org? And as we go further, we'll see, even when the Lord manifested in that form, just like the nature of a org, it does what? With his food, it searches for a food in the dirty place in the earth. So the Lord is manifesting that lila to manifest, to show that is one and the same. And that is why my discussion ended on that point, that the Lord is one and the same, but is manifesting according to the level of consciousness of individual as needed at different circumstances. So what you are seeing, what I am seeing, whether as a child or now or in the future, are both illusory or and reality. They are real because they exist. They are not a manifestation of nothingness. They actually are. We can see it, but it is illusory, just like the impersonalists say, the material world is illusory. Yes, material world is illusion because it's the manifestation of the external potency of the Supreme Personality of God. But it is reality because it's a pattern of the Lord. And that is why Krishna said, so it is real, but it is illusory. So depending on the level of the consciousness of living entity, the Lord is manifested and perceived according to that individual's vision. So what we see as a child in the sky is not illusory in the sense that at that level of consciousness, we are seeing something physically that we can see. If we take a picture, a camera, at that time we snap, that thing realistically show. And there are so many forms of pictures like that on the internet now. Sometimes you see a half-faced person, and when you look at it from the other side, it looks like a different thing entirely. You see a tree from one angle, it looks like completely different. It's real, but it's also illusory. So depending on the consciousness and the level of perception that the person is talking from, so different circumstances are manifesting, but ultimately, the only reality is Krishna. And Krishna says that both animate, inanimate, whatever is manifesting, unmanifest, are all part and parcel of me. And that is the understanding of a devotee. I hope this helps.
Yeah, it helps a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else with something to ask or to share? Anadi Nidanam Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Prabhu. Yeah, you may unmute.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandava pronouns.
Hare
And all
Krishna.
glory. Yes. Please, am I audible enough?
Very much, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Prabhu, yeah, thank you very much for your delivery. But my question is, before the incarnation of the Lord, Bua, the Lord in the form of Bua, already the Lord, Vishnu form is already down there. So is it that that form cannot expand to execute whatever job that the Bua incarnation has to do, or it's only Krishna forms that can expand? I would like to know. Hare Krishna. I don't know if my question is clear.
Well, I think I understand. If I get it wrong, you can correct me.
Okay.
The Lord, I was sharing earlier that in the teachings of, there are chapters from chapters 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 of the teachings of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. If you read that book, Teachings of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you understand this. When Prabhupada was teaching and explaining, giving purport on the Lord being the same and ultimately the one and the same in any of his manifestation. Prabhupada in some of his purport will say, when discussing about the deity and reciprocation of deities with his devotee, everyone eats in our material understanding nature with our hands. I will feed the food to the mouth. But the Lord, just by seeing, eats the food. This is the nature of the Supreme Personality of God. That is why it's called absolute truth. Because each and every of his part and parcel, Lord Brahma stated that also in the Brahma Samhita, is one and the same. And every of his form is, I have my hands, can do only the work of carrying things. It cannot digest food. My stomach has a function. It cannot do the job of my eyes. But the Lord's forms are all same and the same. What it means is that in each and every of his form, the Lord can perform any activity. But according to the need of the time, the Lord manifests a different manifestation for the particular purpose that is needed. And those forms are manifested as part of his lila, because one of his purpose, Srila Prabhupada explained that naturally everybody likes to hear nice story. So therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam and Mahabharata are written so that we can release the experience of hearing sweet stories. So the Lord is manifesting in different forms, not because any of his forms is incapable of doing a particular job, duty or service or fulfillment of any particular desire of his, but for the purpose that is needed, the Lord is manifesting. Another example is when the Lord, we've had several times, when Lord Brahma's position is empty, sometimes the Lord, as Vishnu, becomes the Lord Brahma. But when he took the form of Lord Brahma, it doesn't carry the symbol of Vishnu. He appears as four-headed and appears like Lord Brahma, the form, to perform that pastime and lila. So in this way, the Lord has unlimited. When Lord Krishna was showing his universal form to Arjuna, thousands of heads, thousands of arms, the same activity Lord Krishna could do in his 200 forms as Shama Chandra, but for the purpose to show a for purpose said in that purpose in chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is explaining, Lord Prabhupada was explaining that Lord Krishna is manifesting that for the purpose of those who are trying to show themselves to be God. So Krishna is exhibiting that unusual, unlimited forms, so that if someone tries to present himself, then we ask him, show your universal form. So for the purpose of the need, the Lord manifests in different forms, but each and every forms of the Lord can perform any of his activities. So his appearance in the form of a Varadi, as Prabhupada explained, is also to show that according to human consciousness, we consider one body to be higher than the other body. It is the nature of duality. Human body is higher. The demigod's body is more higher. But no form is higher than the other. So the Lord, sometimes he appears in all of these forms to show that all of these forms are one and the same. But for the purpose of organization, and when Prabhupada is talking about Varna and Ashram, Prabhupada often will explain the Varna and Ashram are created for organization. It is not to say that one ashram is better than the other in a real sense of it, but for the purpose of fulfilling a particular duty or circumstances, the Lord makes such an arrangement. So the Lord is manifesting all of these forms to teach various lessons for different purposes at different times as the need arises. But each and every of his form can do anything and everything that is within his absolute nature as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I hope that helps a little.
Hare Krishna. Anadinana Prabhu, is the answer satisfactory?
Yes, Prabhu.
Well,
Yes, Prabhu.
if you say yes, I have a follow-up, which the answer is not very clear to me. That does not mean the answer is not right or wrong. But Salika Prabhu, from Anadi Nidanand Prabhu's question and the answer you gave, I understand that most of the Vishnu incarnations we have in the material universe are coming from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Some are Krishnas directly. Now, I want to know, just like Anadinanand Prabhu was asking, Lord Vishnu is already lying in this ocean, and the earth is kept in the ocean. So logically, anybody could have thought that, well, since the Lord is already there, he himself, as he's laying in the Gulf Ocean, could have lifted it up. But now he had to take another form to perform that activity. So, one, why did the Lord, if it is Gabod Akashai Vishnu, who appeared as Lord Varaha to lift the earth, why did he have to assume another form when he was already there and he knows that the earth has been submerged in that ocean? And then two, if it is not Gabod Akashai Vishnu, was it Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna? These are my questions, if you may help.
Thank you very much. In the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 12, text number 11, purport, Srila Prabhupada explained that Krishna is situated in each and everyone's heart. Ishwara Sarva Bhutanam. Read the days Arjuna Tishtati. Bhagavad Gita 1861. The ordinary person cannot understand how the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. But a devotee can actually see him. Not only can the devotee see him outwardly, but he can see the Lord with spiritual vision, that everything is resting in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as described in the Bhagavad Gita. Matstani Sarva Bhutani. That is the vision of a Mahabhagavat. Prabhupada further explained that the devotee, I'm reading 4th Canto, chapter 12, text number 11, purport. So Srila Prabhupada says further that is the vision of the Mahabhagavat. He sees everything others see. But instead of seeing merely the trees, the mountains, the cities, or the sky, he sees only his worshipable Supreme Personality of Godhead in everything. Because everything is resting in him only. This is the vision of the Mahabhagavat. In summary, a Mahabhagavat, a highly elevated pure devotee, sees the Lord everywhere, as well as within the heart of everyone. That is possible for devotees who have developed elevated devotional service to the Lord, as stated in the Brahma Samhita, Chinpreman Jana Shurita Bhaktivilo Chanena. Only those devotees who have smeared their eyes with this ointment of love of God can see everywhere the Supreme Lord's face to face. It is not possible by imagination or so-called meditation. So, this different manifestation of the Lord is manifesting them for his lila, for his pastimes. And why the Lord appears just like he has, why did he just do this with the same in this particular incarnation? Why does he have to manifest another one? Only a Mahabhagavat can understand this, because he understands the heart of the Lord. Because his eyes has been smeared by the pure oil of love of God. So he can see the purpose behind. And in the chapter we are reading also, that is why you see the enlightened Brahmins, like Lord Brahma, they all are judged because when they see the Lord appear in that form, they could understand the purpose of the Lord appearing in that form for that purpose. But none other person can understand that. Even the ocean, which is also a living entity, part and parcel of the Lord, could not understand the Lord in that form. So, but for the purpose of lessons, for the purpose of me, you, the Lord is manifesting all of these forms for his purpose. That is what the Acharyas have explained. So, why the Lord appears in a particular form and have to appear, just for an example, when we look at the Krishna Lila in Vrindavan, Lord Krishna pastime in Vrindavan, it is said that all of the forms, killing the demons and all of that, are Vasudeva Krishna. But no other person can understand this except those who are pure devotees. When Akura was escorting Lord Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, when he looked at when he dipped in the ocean, when he was going to take his bath, he sees unlimited forms of the Lord. So the Lord is manifesting at different times for different purposes, and only the Lord and his pure devotees can understand. the reason why he does this. But there is always a purpose. There is a reason. And that reason is why. Why does law appear? Because there is a need, primarily, to wake the sleeping soul who are engaged in the material body. When does it appear? When the need arises. And what purpose? To ultimately to give pleasure to his devotees. So the Lord is manifesting in all of these forms because he has a primary purpose to fulfill the desire of his devotees. And that is why you see the stories of Mahabharata and Bhagavatam. They are endless, because when you start tracing a particular story, someone was reading, we're discussing about one of the famous, could we call him a motivational speaker, Professor Lumumba. Was in one of his YouTube videos, he was glorifying Mahabharata. He said, if any philosopher, if any person studying the subject matter of theology has not read Mahabharata, he has not actually qualified to be called a theologian. And we were having that discussion, and somebody was asking, why will he say that? He's not a Hindu. He's not a follower of the Vedic tradition. But you understand, because the Lord is the beginning, the middle, the end, but has no beginning, has no middle, has no end. That is like what Krishna is. That is why he's called Krishna. Although he's the beginning, the middle, and the end, but ultimately he has no beginning, he has no middle, he has no end. And that is why he is Krishna. And only the pure devotees can understand his activities. And that is why Jama Karma Chame even your Veti Tatota, one will understand the nature of this, my appearance, and the activities that I perform in this various form. Said once you understand that, you will not take birth again, because you have crossed the ocean of delusion and desire. You see the Lord in his real original purposes, why he does that. And that is not in the confine of a conditioned soul like me and you. Or maybe you are elevated, at least for me. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare.
If you say you are conditioned, yeah, I am conditioned also. So you're right to say you are. Madhava Prabhu, yes, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All praise assembly of devotees. All praise to the devotees of our speaker today, SALIKA PRABHU. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I just have a little contribution on this, why the Lord has to take the form of Lord Varaha. Just like SALIKA PRABHU has spoken, that Krishna will incarnate according to a particular activity that he wants to perform as a lila. If you look at this particular purpose, when the Earth planet was pushed into the bottom of the Dakota ocean, and at the depth of the ocean, it's very muddy, and we notice that it's the form of earth that are used to their nature. They always go to the muddy places to pick. They use their nose to sniff, and then their tongue to pick rubbish, in the muddy areas. So I want to think that was the reason why Krishna had to take that particular form. Otherwise, just like Sadev Prabhu has said, Vishnu could have just expanded his long arms and pick it up since he was lying on the ocean. But to make a very wonderful lila, to Krishna, and then to show that he can take different forms in terms of incarnations, and then make a very wonderful lila. He also expanded himself so big enough to be able to carry even the whole Earth planet just on the top. So Krishna demonstrated all those things. And then when he jumped into the ocean, because of his big size and weight, the ocean just cut into two. So I think Krishna is just showing us his power. He can come in different forms, different activities for us to relish as devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Madhavan Prabhu. We all experience this in our day-to-day life when we are in the kitchen, when we are cooking, when we want to cut the vegetables, we use a particular utensils. When we want to cook, we don't use the knife, we use the pot. These are all creations of our imagination for the purpose that is needed in the kitchen. And in this way, there are so many utensils in the kitchen serving different purposes for the same purpose of cooking. It's not because, okay, you want to cook and we just carry one particular utensil and said, okay, they are all called kitchen utensils. And so the Lord also in his supremely, he manifests himself in different forms for the purpose. And then thank you very much, Madhavan Prabhu, for that example you gave, because I've had that in several lectures also, that because the earth, the base of the ocean was so muddy, and the org naturally feel very comfortable in that kind of environment. So the Lord took that particular body and to show. So that was a nice contribution. Thank you.
Well, Hare Krishna. It's interesting, Salika Prabhu, you also added to it that you've read or you've read. Because I was going to ask Madhavan Prabhu, where did he read or where did he hear it from that the bottom of the Gulf Ocean is muddy? I don't know. Is it muddy? I doubt, but if it can be proven otherwise, I will be.
Yeah, it is said that the depth of the ocean is always muddy, boggy environment. So, and for the boa, it is a natural environment for a hog. And also, and one of the quality, it is also explained that in that same lecture I have had from one of, I can't remember exactly what I got about this. It is said also that also to move freely in the mud, you need a lot of strength. And so the Lord also, the boa, they are more stronger when they are in that environment. So the environment of the need of the time requires a body like that of a boa. And then the Lord Varaj decided to manifest in that particular form. It is, I've read it, several places, and I've had it in lectures also, that is mentioned that because of the muddy, boggy environment of the place where the earth was dumped. So a body for that, just like we have a body that is, Prabhupada will use example of the bed. Why didn't we get the body like that of a bed? But because the bed needs to fly. So it has a particular kind of body that is composed of a larger percentage of air. But all of the bodies are composed of 8 elements. But depending on the environment of the living entity is going to be staying, a particular element is of the higher capacity. So for the boa, his body is appropriate for that kind of an environment. And that's why I was commenting on that.
Well, that would be my homework.
Yeah, please do.
Maybe I heard it from lectures anyway. I learned it from several lectures.
Yeah, it's been said many places.
Yes, yes.
All right.
And of course, the depth of the ocean is just like that.
Yeah, the depth of ocean is always muddy, so that is why the Lord needed the kind of a form to navigate that environment?
Like as I'm saying here, I doubt that the ocean bed of the Garbo will be muddy and dirty, but we'll continue after this class someday. I'm saying it's a homework for me, but it should be a homework for others also, especially if we do not know for sure. But thank you for sharing, Madam Prabhu and the SALIKA Prabhu. Thank you for sharing also. Anyone else with something to ask or to share? Yeah, Shimara Acharya Prabhu, please give me a mute.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance. All glory to the Prabhupada. All glory to the Prabhupada. I'm driving. I hope my voice is clear.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think SALIKA Prabhu had already explained at long last, but I think we can also make it very succinct that Lord Vishnu is, well, we have different 6 different types of avatars, and Lord Vishnu himself is one of the avatars, So he's playing a role already. So he cannot play another role. So all these 6 avatars have their role. So Varaha, Narasingha, they are all in Lila avatars. So now Vishnu cannot start acting again as Lila avatar. Why? He is already Purusha avatar. So they all have their offices to play, a role to play. And the reason why, even though Lord Vishnu is there, but he is there in the role as a Purusha avatar. And the Purusha avatar is in a majestic role. Doesn't move around like that. He's there, and Lakshmi is massaging her feet, his feet. So his role is totally different. It's like the king doesn't move around like that. Okay, so we have to understand that the 6 different types of avatars, each of them has its role. So Lord Vishnu's role as Purusha avatar cannot at the same time play the role of Lila avatar or Yuga avatar or Man avatar. So anyway, that's one. And the other point is that the scripture tells us that all these avatars exist eternally. So it's not that Varaha just came to being or Narasimha just came to being. The scripture says that they all exist eternally, and they all have their planets. So that also indicates that just like in a country, the head of state is there, and all the different departments and the ministers, everything exists already. Everything exists. So it's not that because there is a need, that's why the Minister of Works now come out. The Minister of Works is already there, whether you see him working or not. So it's not, okay, Minister of Defense came because there is a war. Minister of Defense is always there, whether there is war or not. You may not hear of him. So in the universal arrangement, all these avatars are there. Lila avatar, Purusha avatar, Yuga avatar, they're all there. And they manifest when there is a need for it. So that's also the scripture, what scripture says. So it's not that Varaha was invented at that time. No, it's always been there. Okay, so that's my contribution. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shimara Acharya Prabhu, for that addition. Like I said earlier in the class, Sir Dave is showing in the Zoom screen now, but he has been there, but it's just that I'm not seeing him. Now I'm seeing him because he has manifested himself on this Zoom platform. And after this Zoom platform closes, he will still be there. So you are perfectly right, Prabhuji. All the incarnations, and in that teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu elaborately taught this to Sanatana Goswami about the existence of all of these incarnations. Eternally, they are eternally existing, manifesting at the time that is need. for them. So very good point. Thank you so much Prabhu for that. And the second point.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Govinda.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. My respectful obeisances to you and to devotees. Yeah, Prabhu, thank you very much. Vara Prabhu just made a point, and you try to say something in addition to what he said by saying that these forms of the Lord are already there, and you use Sade Prabhu as an example. But you know that after the Zoom class, you go and see Sahadev somewhere else. It's the same body of Sahadev, but he has his dwelling place. Yeah, that is true. But you see Sahadev in this same body. So when you speak of Arahadev and other incarnations, where do they reside after the pastimes? Where are their planet? Like Varahadev, where is his planet? And is he there with the same body? And who are those with him? Do they have the same body like Varahadev?
Thank you very much. This is a deep question for a neophyte like me, but I'll try to say something. And whatever I don't know, you will add it for me, because I know you have the answers to this question. We just wanted to enlighten all of us. Krishna existed before the beginning, is existing in the beginning. It will exist in the end, and after the end, it will still exist. So these forms are not seen by conditioned souls and may not be able to understand. But from what I have read, like Srimad Acharya Prabhu was trying to explain, there are different incarnations of the Lord. There are some of them that are Purusha avatars. In the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, I think if I can go back to that place, there are three primary incarnations of God. The Swayam Rup form of the Lord. Then there is a third Ekatma Rupa, and there is the Avesh Rupa of the Lord. And all of these forms have their eternal abode in the spiritual realms, which are unlimited also, according to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sanatana Goswami. So, and some of these forms also are further divided into many. For an example, the Lord's form as third Ekatma Rupa is divided into two manifestations, basically, which are manifesting as the personal expansion, which are called the Swamsas, and the pastime expansions, which are called Vilas Rupas, or incarnations of the Lord. So these various forms, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained, who is the Lord himself, that all of these forms eternally exist, but at the time they exist within the realm that is beyond this material realm. Now, those particular place, I was there before, but I can't remember now. So I've forgotten exactly the location. So I may not be able to share it to you. But according to the authority of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all these forms eternally existed, and they exist in a realm beyond the material realm, which are spread in the spiritual sky. So these forms are eternally existing, and they are existing in an eternal abode in the spiritual world, in the geographical locations. Those who are acharyas have explained that this, like Lord Brahma said in the Brahma Samhita, this abode of the Lord are countless, unlimited, and cannot be counted. And in each and every of these spiritual abode of the Lord, in whatever forms that we're describing, that falls within these different manifestation of the Lord have their eternal abode in those regions. This is the much that I think I know. But I see hands of Srimad Acharya Prabhu and Madhavan Prabhu. Maybe they could add something to what I've shared. But this is what I have heard and read so far.
Yeah, Srimad Maharaj Prabhu, you may unmute.
So, Prabhu, you already said it. But let's be specific. So they are in the Vaikuntha planets. And the Vaikuntha planets, each of them is with a different form of Narayan. Different form of Narayan with their different names and the different way they all carry their different weapons. So there are all this is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vaikuntha planets, in Narayan forms are all, Vara Avatar is Narayan form. Narasingha is Narayan form. They're all 400 forms. So all the Vaikuntha planets have Narayan forms in different forms. So one, just to be specific, all these forms are in the Vaikuntha planets. And now what is interesting, it's also explained that some of these forms
Sorry, Srimad Maharaj Acharya Prabhu, you got muted.
Okay, sorry, yeah. It's okay now?
Yes.
All right. So I'm explaining that the scripture says that if you go to Varaha Loka, know that everyone there is hog. And know that that God, Krishna there is looking at hog all the time. That is a mask. That is a mask the Lord has put on for a purpose. All the Vaikuntha planets have Narayan form in their different manifestation with different how they carry their different weapons for the different purposes they are fulfilled. Now, if you go to Varaha Loka, that is where you can see the form of Varaha, but that does not mean that they are looking at Varaha all the time, or all the other people they are looking at like as Og. No. It is Vaikuntha planet, and they are 400 form. But in each of these planets where the Lord exists, according to his Leela, that is where you can see that form. So that is what this scripture explains. I don't know if I makes any little sense. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for that addition. Actually, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 3, all of these incarnations are detailed explained, and Prabhupada in several of the purports. When you read that chapter 3 of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada explains all these incarnations of the Lord and their unlimited abode in the Vaikuntha planets. They are all elaborately explained in chapter 3 of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Madhavan Prabhu. Madhavan Prabhu, are you there?
I'm there. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me the audience. Just this point, which Sadhu Prabhu was saying, with the bottom of the Gabutaka side is muddy. I want us to look at text 28. Let's read text 28. Maybe you can give us a clue of, just go back to text. We are in 30 now. Let's go to it.
Okay, the text we're reading today.
Yes,
Yeah.
Let's go to 28.
Yeah, the text 28 says that he was personally the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, and was therefore transcendental. Yet, because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His thoughts were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus, he entered the water. We should always remember that although the body of a hog is material,
okay, no, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. You know, he searched after gas by smell. which means he could not see the earth. So he could only use his sense perception to search for it. And then he will use his thought to dig into the mud. So I think that gives us another perception. And we should understand that the size of the earth will be so small inside that the ocean, the cosmic ocean. So which means the earth planet entered into the mud and was not even visible. So he had to search by smell. Then with the help of the thought, digging. I think that was the reality that happened there. And this text also collaborates. I don't know if I'm making any sense, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Sure. Bhagavatam is always making sense because it's the word of the Lord and it's the devotees. So you're right.
So I don't want to go too much into it.
I will also try to share some scriptural references. I know that in some of the commentaries of the previous acharyas, there are where it is specifically these examples are given that because of the nature of the environment where the earth was thrown into, because of its muddy and boggy nature, the Lord has to take the particular form of a hog because that body was conducive for that environment. And then one of the reason also is what you explained, because the hog has a very high sense of smell, so he could smell the earth. And then when we corroborate it with Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also talked about the smell of the earth. And so all of this put together actually confirms the same. But I know that it is there in some of the previous acharyas and analogy of examples that because of the nature of the environment where the earth was pushed into, which is a muddy, boggy environment, so the body of a hog was needed to actually do that job. Even though the Lord can do it in any forms, but because the Lord wants to praise his lila, so he appeared in that particular form. Thank you, Prabhu.
Well, Vara Prabhu's explanation to the question I asked is, yeah. So he's saying that Vaikuntha planet, of course.
You
might have to repeat yourself.
Yeah, I think he's having some distractions. Prabhu, are you ready? Okay, he's back.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Yes, of course, we know that Lord Narayan lives in Vaikuntha. They say there are different forms of Narayan in Vaikuntha planets. That is true. And we also understand that everything is situated within the body of the Lord. And that is what he exactly shown to Arjuna and other devotees in his universal form. And so this form coming into manifestation as Varaha is already there in the Lord. But he bring it out, or he manifests it according to time, place, and different circumstances. Certain things comes out from the Lord. We also understand that even our own day-to-day activities, we have our original body. You know, as we have this body, and we put on different masks to go to different places according to the activities and the purpose as to why we are going to that place. But when we are done with that activity, with that function of that particular costume, we don't continue to wear it. We put it down and then take another one based on what we want to do. But our form is never changed. That's like a farmer is going to farm. You know, he go to farm with a particular attire, but when he comes back, he take it off. And so it's always, you know, like that. So if that is what I wanted to understand, that someone may be attracted to the form, Varaha form, and worship that form and remembers that form at the point of death. Then he goes to Lord Varaha. And so if he goes there to that Vaikuntha planet where Lord Varaha is residing, so that was my exact question, that is he going to take, because those devotees in Vaikuntha planet, they all have 400 form, like Lord Narayan. And so if they are going to Varaha's planet, are they going to have Varaha form? Or those in the Varaha planet, where Lord Varaha dwells, do they have the same form as Lord Varaha? Or they have 400 form as Lord Narayan? And if it's just the costume that you use based on a particular function, then we want to understand that clearly. That means that Lord Shimadev, there is no form as Lord Shimadev that is eternally dwelling in Vaikuntha planet, that one can go there and see this form of the Lord as Lord Shimadev. So we can say that that is also a costume. He put on that to come and kill Hiranyakashipu. And after that, that form doesn't live somewhere that one can go there and see the form of Lord Nishimadev. So that is what I really want to get the clearer understanding, that these incarnations come, it's a costume that the Lords take to come and display. And when it's done, that's it, he drop it and then assume its original form on the Vaikuntha planet.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Govinda Prabhu. If I understand properly your question, in Lord Varaha's eternal abode, does those devotees who have as their worshipable deities Lord Varaha as their worshipable Nishta or worshipable deities, when they go to Lord Varaha, do they have the same form as that of Lord Varaha? I don't think that is naturally necessary from my understanding, because in the Vaikuntha planets, the Lord, of course, has unlimited forms, and one of them, like Lord Brahma said, but I've not read anywhere that it is said that because the Lord appears in a particular form, then his devotees will also have that particular same type of form when they go to that abode of the Lord. The Lord decides to manifest in unlimited forms, but those who are devotees of that Lord in that particular form does not necessarily have to have that form. I mean, Prahlad Maharaj is a devotee of Lord Nishimadev, and I've not read anywhere that Prahlad Maharaj took the form of Lord Nishimadev in his attainment. He eternally has his eternal. We all have our eternal Swarupa form. And what Prabhupada has said in several of his purports is that when we become perfect, whether we worship the Lord in the form of Nasimadev or we worship him in the form of Varaha, we worship him in the form, we will attain our original Swarup. And then when we look at the Leelas, as stated, as narrated, even of that of the Vasus and several other stories, and we read in the scriptures, those devotees do not naturally develop the same form as that of the Lord. They attain their original eternal Swarupa or forms they eternally have. Just like the Lord has his unlimited eternal forms, we also have our eternal forms, which is covered now by our present conditional body. And when we become perfect, those who are Narayan devotees, who go back to the abode of Lord Narayan, they have the 400 forms of Lord Narayan, because that is their original Swarup forms. But it is not said anywhere that devotees that have gone to maybe Vaikunth, to Goloka Vrindavan have to also carry peacocks like Krishna. I've not read that, but it is like Sadev Prabhu will say, we need to read a little bit deeper. Maybe we've not read enough, but I know that in the commentary of Jiva Goswami about the original Swarupa form of the living entity, it is said that the living entity has its own eternal forms, which he attains when he becomes, he attains liberation, he attains pure love of God, and he goes back to the abode of the Lord. So if you look, the devotees goes to the Narayan abode, it takes the 400 form of Lord Narayan, like it is described in the scriptures. But for other forms of the Lord, I've not read anywhere that the devotee has to take that particular form of the Lord because he has accepted those particular form of the Lord as his worshipable deities.
Well,
Yeah, I mean that is yeah, quite understood, Prabhu. It's quite understood. But the question is that does the Lord has that form in the Vaikuntha planet? Or when it comes to perform the Leela, that form is over. It's nowhere to be found unless, of course, he wants to manifest it again before it come again to manifestation.
The pastimes of the Lord are Nitya Leela. That is why we say it's Nitya Leela. It's eternally manifested. When the Lord manifests a particular, it's eternally manifested. And that form originally exists eternally. That form is not a temporary form. It is eternal and is manifesting in the environment that the Lord. And remember also that because the Lord has finished his pastimes here in this earth planet, then that his pastimes has finished. He's manifesting himself in another planet because it is Nitya Lila. It continuously manifests in different environments continuously. So the Lord, that form can never be extinguished because it is the form of the Lord. It's eternal, and his pastime is also eternal. So it's manifesting in another environment, exhibiting the same pastimes and eternally manifesting like that.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Well, Hare Krishna, Jai devotees.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
In fact, I think
if I can add something.
Okay, go ahead, Prabhu. Yes, Shivamara.
Go ahead, Prabhuji. I think he's having a network challenge.
Yeah.
I intended saying that earlier on, but he also mentioned that. Now, but one thing that we have to get clear is that the Narayan form that assumed, one of the Narayan form of Vishnu that assumed the role of Varaha could be, now let me speculate, I don't know which one of them, but there are so many. So now listen, it could be Achyuta, it could be Irishkesha, it could be Paravyoma, it could be Janandana, it could be any. But all these different names have their different planets. And each of them comes down when there is a need to play a role. Now they exist eternally in their own forms in the Vaikuntha planet. But if you want to see Varaha, if it is Achyuta form of the Lord that has taken Varaha, then if you go to that form, that planet where Achyuta is, you will see Varaha. But that does not mean that he's there all the time as Varaha, showing his face as Varaha. But he is the one, is that form that has taken Varaha form. That is where you can see him. All of them play different roles at different times. But according to the pastime they've exhibited, then you can go to the planet and see that form. But that form does not necessarily stay there looking as Varaha. But in his Lila, from time to time, if you want to see, you can see Varaha there. But if you go, let us say it is Achyuta, Narayan as Achyuta that has taken Varaha form. It remains always a Narayan. But if you are in that Varaha Loka, from time to time you can hear Varaha roaring, or from time to time you can see that form of Varaha. But that will not happen if it is Purushottam form. If you are in the Narayan planet, Vaikuntha planet, where is Purushottam form, And it is not that form that has taken Varaha's form. So you may not experience that there. So this is the different categorization. All of them, so many of them with different names, are all Narayan. And when there is a need, a particular one comes down and assumes a particular form. And if you go to that planet where that form of Narayan exists, he's always there as Narayan. But according to one of his lila on earth as Varaha, from time to time, you can also experience, his form or see that form in that local. So this is my understanding. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mama Varaha Prabhu. And then on the final note, let me just add this. Krishna is the supreme personality of God. Etecham Sam Kalampum Shah Krishna, still Bhagavan Swayam. When Krishna manifested in Mathura, those who know him and realize him as their boyfriend see him as their own boyfriend. So whichever form the Lord manifests, a devotee who have attained the Swarup of eternal servant of the Lord will see the Lord in that form of the Lord, that he has worshipped the Lord, that he has developed attraction for the Lord. Although Krishna remains Krishna, but he will manifest himself to that devotee. That is the inconceivable, nature of the Supreme Personality of God, that he can simultaneously manifest himself as Varaha, as Purushottama, as Vasudev, as whatever forms, simultaneously to all of his devotees who are seeing him in their particular Swarup relationship with the Supreme Personality of God. So if you're seeing the Lord as Varaha, or you're seeing him as Nrsimhadev, or whatever form of the Lord that you are attracted to, the same Krishna will manifest that, because he gives transcendental pleasure to each and every of the devotees based on his eternal relationship with his devotee. So he's Krishna, and he remains Krishna. But for his devotee, he will continue to manifest himself in that form that gives pleasure to that his devotee, because that is his relationship with that his devotee. Hare Krishna.
That's true, Prabhu. I had an experience this morning with our Gurudev coming in my dreams, and doing so many things. Imagine if he should have come in his spiritual form. How would I know him?
Exactly.
So thank you very much. That explains everything. Thanks. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Adipati. I think
talking about Gurudev dream, I saw Sahadev in my dream today, so that's my own dream today.
then you should continue your Kartik sermons. You should fast. But, all I wanted to say is, of course, Salika Prabhu is such a wonderful devotee. It's very special to have this devotee amongst us, and particularly to have him as a big brother. But Salika Prabhu was so right when he first answered Govinda Prabhu's question, as this is a very, very deep subject matter. So it's a very, very deep subject matter. And I am humbly imploring all devotees to try to do a little bit more studies on these topics for our own enlightenment and satisfaction. Because that is one beautiful thing in not speaking. I'm sitting here so I can go and make some research. And I've done some research that supports some of the things said here, and also bashes some of the things said here. But none of them have come from Srila Prabhupada. So I'm suggesting we all should try to study, because there are some pastimes of the Lord, even though like Salika Prabhu said, they are all eternal, but they are only found in the material world. They are not found in the spiritual world. Just as there are some pastimes of the Lord that can only be found in the material world. You can't find them in the spiritual world. You can't find Bhishma Dev fighting Krishna in the spiritual world. You can't find Mother Yashoda breastfeeding Krishna in the spiritual world. But these are eternal activities going on in the material world. So again, back to the ocean of the Garbo, the bed of the Garbo Ocean being muddy and dirty, that sounds kind of very iffy to me. So there are quite a number of readings we need to do from today's class, and I'm just thankful that devotees are so well read and eager to know more about the Lord and his pastimes and his Lord's pastimes. So they're coming up with all these questions. Because Salika Prabhu said, everybody, Srila Prabhupada, the verse you give us where Srila Prabhupada was saying that lawyers are always asking and answering. Everybody is asking and answering questions, and we want to find solutions. So that is what we do. So, but we are lucky, we are doing it about God. So let's see what will come out of our readings on these subject matters, and then we'll all enjoy and share together. With that, I think we may bring this class to an end, except Salika Prabhu, if you may have some concluding remark.
No, just wanted to thank all of the devotees for giving me the opportunity to render this service and purifying my consciousness. But I didn't say dirty in my submission. It's muddy because the nature of the ocean is such that it is muddy. But dirty, I didn't use the word dirty. I'm not sure whether the ocean of Gabo, that an ocean would be dirty. I wouldn't also conceive of that it may be dirty, because dirty is a word, English word that denotes something differently. But it may not be dirty, but I know that every ocean, from understanding of an ocean, has a bed of muddy, boggy in nature. So that's my understanding.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So thank you so much, Shri Salika Prabhu, and all amazing devotees here, and particularly those who all of a sudden became Lord Boa, staring the class and bringing all the gems. You know. Thank you all. No, there is always special gems, jewelries in the ocean bed, but you have to agitate it. And the witches have done so well agitating the Garbo Ocean today. So we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, Mr. Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Karpatarubhyascha kripas Patitanam Pavanabhyo Namo Nama. His Grace is confounder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Mr. Koti Vaishnava Vrinde ki Jai. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.